Welcome to the AlphaWarrior Show. We're excited to share diverse perspectives and expert insights with you. Please note that the views and information expressed by our guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect those of the AlphaWarrior Show, its management, or our partners. Each of our affiliates and sponsors and partnerships is a separate entity, and their opinions are their own. Today's content is provided for information and educational purposes and should not be taken as specific advice, whether it be financial, medical, or legal. While we strive to present accurate and useful information, we cannot guarantee its completeness or relevance to your specific situation. We provide all information as is and encourage you to consult with a professional advisor to address your specific individual needs. Your use of any information from this broadcast is entirely at your own risk. By listening further, you agree to identify and protect the AlphaWarrior Show and its associates from any claims or damages arising from your use of this broadcast content. Changes to this disclaimer may be made at any time and will be done effectively immediately upon posting or broadcasting. Thank you for tuning in, and we hope you find the episode both informative and thought-provoking. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome to the next generation of warfare, psychological warfare. In modern conflict, the mind is a potent weapon. Discover General Michael T. Flynn's groundbreaking guide, The Citizen's Guide to Fifth Generation Warfare. Unlock tactics, strategies, and the mindset to navigate this cognitive battlefield that we all find ourselves in. Equip yourself against manipulation and emerge unscathed. Unleash your potential. Order now.
September 16th, 2024. This is the AlphaWarrior Show. I am your host, Alpha. It's Monday night. We're going to do things a little bit different tonight. Usually following my real quick, brief monologue, we go into my sponsors and affiliates. But tonight's show is very important, and I'm sure my sponsors and affiliates would agree. So we're going to bypass doing any commercial ads until the very end of this episode tonight. So I'll just remind you guys, all the links to my sponsors and affiliates are down in the description. But what we're going to do, instead of doing the affiliates and sponsors, we're going to go straight into the trailer for the documentary, This is Treason. And the two gentlemen I have on tonight, JJ Carrell and Ryan Mata, are going to walk us through this experience of what they put together, what their mission is, the objective here. And it's going to be a hard show to swallow, you guys. If you remember the last time that we had JJ here, you guys just couldn't believe the facts and the stats. And tonight's going to be more like that. But like I said, with the focus on this documentary, again, I want to remind you guys, down in the description, about halfway, 2/3 of the way down, you'll find the links to follow JJ, to follow Ryan, to go to the website, to watch this documentary. I need you guys to do your part. And your part is making sure you grab their website and you share it everywhere without fear. Share it everywhere. Share this podcast everywhere. Go right now while you have time and post it on your Facebook, post it on your Instagram, post it on your X. And the last thing you should be worried about is whether you're going to be censored or deplatformed, because tonight, on the other end of this, if we fail, it's the kids that are going to continue to suffer. And so with that, you guys, let me play this trailer. And then in a few minutes, I will have my guests. Tonight's show is going to require some prayer. So with heavy hearts, I ask that you guys pray while this broadcast takes place.
A journey that's going to prove that Joe Biden and his administration are traitors and they have committed treason against America. I only have one question for you. But before I ask that question, I want to take you back in time. We're going to transport everyone back to January 19th, 2021, the day before Joe Biden takes office. And I'm going to stand before you and I'm going to say I came from the future 4 years from now. And I'm going to tell you what this man's going to do. First day in office, he is going to sign 94 executive orders to eviscerate every immigration policy Donald J. Trump has put into effect. He will take a border that was the most secure border in American history and turn it on its head. Within 4 years, Joe Biden will have arrested over 12 million people. 250,000 of them will be special interest aliens, which in other words, in layman's terms, terrorists. They'll be arrested and released. Since the time he's become president in the 4 years, Joe Biden has created the world's largest child sex trafficking organization in modern history. He will have arrested and released over 500,000 unaccompanied alien children called UACs. Their ages are from infancy to 17 years old. They just released them to a nation that is the #1 consumer of child pornography. Connect the dots. Our government is destroying America from within. I will not stand by and allow it to happen. That's why I'm going to go to across the nation and I'm going to show you the manifestation of this treason. You're going to see crime that you can't even fathom. You're going to see a degradation of the social benefits and welfare for American citizens being ripped from them and given to illegal aliens. You're going to see cities like Chicago, New York, Boston, Philadelphia, and you're going to see them divert tens of millions of dollars. In New York City, they're going to divert almost $12 billion for illegal aliens. The city of Chicago has brought to its knees social welfare, murder, crime. You can imagine hundreds of millions of dollars for illegal aliens, and I don't care about my residents. They can all pound sand. We are living in a world where our government hates us, and I'm going to go on a journey, and I am going to prove it to you. And the question I have after all of this has been done, if everything I tell you is the truth, and it is, do you call Joe Biden a patriot or a traitor?
Let me bring on the guests. You guys remember www.thisistreason.com. Use code Alpha15. Sorry about that. Something in my ear. Code Alpha15 to get yourself a discount right there. JJ, Ryan, welcome to the show. God bless both you gentlemen for taking on a beast that most people are afraid to even just have conversations about. How are you guys doing tonight?
Great. Thank you for having us, man. We're excited. This is a topic no one wants to talk about, but To be honest with you, I don't want to sound coarse or harsh. Ryan and I just don't give a crap what you feel. We just don't. Because right now, the statistical probability that not a few children, but tens of thousands of children are being raped right now as we're speaking, is statistically proven. 500,000 unaccompanied alien children have crossed into America. Joe Biden has released them all, and they do not have any idea where they are. Zero. We can go through that later. At the same time, about 400 to 800,000 children in America go missing every year. Let's just round that. Let's do a rounding error. 500,000. So that's 2 million in 4 years. Plus 500,000 unaccompanied alien children. 2.5 million. And what Ryan and I are going to show you in our documentary, Trafficked, you're not going to be able to unsee what you see. You're just not. And this is what's so powerful about what Ryan did. And I'm going to make this very clear to the audience. I had nothing to do with this. I showed up and I interviewed and Ryan filmed, and then he just locked himself in a basement for weeks on end and created what I believe. And I say this with no arrogance because I have no ownership of it besides my name's on it. Outside of that, I believe it's a unicorn, meaning it's a one of a kind, never going to be seen again type of documentary. And I would love to hear your thoughts on it. If you think that I'm wrong or I'm being, maybe dramatic or hyperbole, I would love to hear if you disagree.
Well, one, I'll say I most definitely do not disagree. When we're in this, this industry, and constantly interviewing the people, especially many of the people that came out on this documentary, you think you're well versed in the information and the statistics. And so when I went into watching this documentary, I was just like, all right, I was looking to say, I want to see how much of it they were able to capture and relay to the audience, so where they can be impacted by it, but it's still digestible. And as much as I thought I knew, I was still like, I didn't know that. And I didn't know that, and I didn't know that, and these are horrific things that I didn't know. For one, I didn't realize how much money the escorts were making, taking these kids on a weekly basis. My jaw dropped when I heard that. I was like, "Who's not making money in this?" It's heartbreaking. And then my mind goes back, to the old, Leo days, and I guess fortunately, the worst child crime I ever had to investigate doesn't even meet the bottom of what some of these cases I'm hearing with these kids at the border. And if I know how horrific and traumatizing it was for the kids, in the investigations I did, I see this, and then I hear numbers like, 400,000, half a million kids, JJ, like, Jesus. Like that's 1,000 is a lot. 500,000. How in the world does our government just not be able to stop this? And when I think back of the resources I know that are available to us at the local level, right? Like, I mean, we're not the biggest. I didn't work for the biggest metropolitan agency in the country. It's a small agency for a city of about 80, just under 100,000 people. And I know the resources we had, and I know the government has exponentially more than that. And I know if they wanted to stop it, the resources exist. So then why aren't they? And I guess that's probably the best question to give to you, gentlemen.
I'll hand that one over to JJ here in a second. I want to drive that point home when you said about 500,000. So Alpha, you were in the military, correct?
I was.
How many soldiers do we have boots on the ground at the peak of the Iraq War? If you could take a guess.
Just about 326,000.
Oh, really? I heard it was 177,000. So I was going to throw some numbers at you, but either way, very close, right? So imagine your entire platoon. So if I thought it was 177,000, I was going to imagine 3 full military armies just vanishing from the face of the earth. You said 320. So 1.5 times. So that would be our entire military going to Iraq and completely getting wiped off the map, and then sending another one and it happening again. That is the equivalent. In the state of Wyoming has 580,000 citizens living in the state. So literally almost the entire state of Wyoming just gone, vanished, never be seen.
Well, to supplement that that analogy, Ryan, I also remember the resources to move us over to Iraq.
Mm-hmm.
That was a logistic nightmare, man. And they were moving so many of us, they had to incorporate commercial airlines. It wasn't just military airlines, reserve bases. So if that's happening here in the States, like this is something that doesn't happen by flying under the radar.
Tell them about the thesis we had in the beginning. We came back and we thought this was what, a military?
Yeah, we thought when we went through several variations of what, like Ryan and I went to start this documentary, and it was what is treason, and about a third way through, Ryan and I, just so you know, we both have regular jobs, and so on the weekends, Friday through Sunday or Monday, we would just fly out and shoot for 3 days straight, solid, not hardly any sleep, and just go, and then we'd be driving, right, drive everywhere, and we were driving, and we're like, dude, everything is, the child sex trafficking angle is beginning to eat up everything that we're talking about, because it's then we were able to discover, why is that? It's because everything is tied to pedophilia. Everything is tied to how many children we can get into America, how many can we have lost. And then we came to, Ryan and I were like, okay, well, if God gives us enough sales on this documentary, then we'll come back out in November and shoot a documentary on child sex trafficking. Then Ryan called me almost 4 weeks ago and said, we can't put that we can't put the child sex trafficking in the normal documentary. It just can't fit. So we're gonna have to do one by itself. And then I was like, okay, man, this is your specialty. You got to tell me, because I have no idea how this is going to work. And Ryan pushed out that documentary that you saw in 25 days, dude. We were editing. He was editing that documentary up to about 2 hours before it went live at a film festival in Texas. That's how he was pushing it all the way to the limit with his editors.
We sent it out to have 10,000 DVD copies made while we were at the premiere, and I hadn't even seen the final editing credits yet. That's how much of a time crunch we were on to get this out. And when we first started this, right? So we were just filming we were trying to travel across America and answer the question, right? What is treason? And because we know that the left is very good at manipulating words and verbiage, just like they did gain of function. You guys can probably name 100 more. So what we wanted to set out, can we answer the question, what is treason? Can we prove without a shadow of a doubt what our government is doing is treason? And we thought that this was an invasion. We thought a lot of things, and we had a kind of a picture that we had in our head. After the first stop we made in San Diego, because of JJ's resources and contact and reputation, I've been to the border. You've seen me down there, Alpha, 8 times at least, just to the Texas border alone. Never once could I get a Border Patrol agent to speak with me, let alone get led into like behind the scenes locations that I'm not going to say on your podcast, because I don't want to get anybody in trouble that helped us acquire this intel. But we got into places that I could have never got. And by the end of that first trip, and especially hearing this confidential human source that was telling us about how much money, this was the guy at the upper echelon that was cutting the checks to the NGO, cutting $600 million checks, $30 million checks, $50 million checks. I looked at JJ and I go, JJ, this isn't just an invasion. To move this many bodies, we're talking about 20,000 a day coming across our border. So you're talking about in 9 days, if our standing army was 177,000, really roughly in 9 days, you are taking a standing military army across our border. I go, how do you move that many bodies? I said, this isn't just an invasion. This isn't just neglect. This isn't just people looking the other way or taking a bribe and not doing their job. This is a full-scale military operation being carried out by every level of our government, from the presidency all the way down to local sheriffs. A majority of them are compromised, and you couldn't compromise and you couldn't carry out this operation without the proper blackmail and the proper money and resources. So yeah, a lot of it's money, looking at people like Carlos and these escorts that are actually making, $20,000, $25,000, $30,000 a month delivering these children. Yes, that's probably why they're just getting the money. But maybe they're sick, and maybe there's more to it that we don't know about, because these escorts are also left alone with minor children. So maybe they're weird and they're freaks and they're pedophiles and they're not coming out because they're getting their rocks off. Or maybe it's just because they're making 30,000. And if they left, they would be back working at McDonald's or a gas station making $9 an hour. So yeah, money's a part of it. But the pedophilia is what ties in this entire network of politicians. Everybody in Washington, D.C. that you see looking the other way. And that's why we were so adamant about pushing for the death penalty, because we have people in our documentary that are saying that there are politicians in Washington, D.C. that are traveling overseas to have sex with minor children. And as JJ says, you don't have sex with a minor child, you rape a child. A minor child cannot consent. So that means we have politicians in Washington, D.C. that may or may not be pedophiles. So let's all push for the death penalty, and let's take a step back and go, what politicians are trying to not vote in favor of this death penalty? And you can probably get a good idea of who the pedophiles are in our government.
You know, the idea on one of the theories you had about, being a military operation, I know people in the, in the chat may be like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And I just want to remind people, think about the military the way we were used for, narcotics, all the way to Vietnam and these other things.
Mhm.
It is not far-fetched to think that same type of thing could be orchestrated with human trafficking. And I agree, Ryan. I mean, there's a level of evil, man. Just before I watched the documentary, I wanted to go in and look at some old videos. Some of them I could find, some of them I couldn't, of just some interviews with these predators. And not necessarily with the ones regarding the border, but just, predators with these child crimes. And I mean, it's evil. Like the stuff they say, and some of them still with smirks on their face, saying, I took away their childhood. And they're saying they're remorseful, but you see it in their face. Like there's no soul there. It's just, it's devastating. And
Well,
go ahead, JJ.
no, to for your audience to understand, let's break it down to the brass tacks, okay? Just from a common sense perspective. 500,000 unaccompanied alien children, they've lost them all. I don't care what the government is telling you, 325,000, that's a lie. We are just about 6 to 8 months away from them to admitting, no, it's 500,000, okay? So let's just stop playing that game. Around number 500,000 children go missing every year in America, American children. So, and this is not just a Joe Biden issue. Joe Biden with the illegal alien children, but the 2 million. So in Joe Biden's term, he will have, under his watch, 2.5 million children have been lost. Okay? Now, I want your audience to understand. I want to have a couple questions. I want your audience to think, have you recently or in the last 5 years seen roaming groups of children wandering the streets in the big cities and in rural America with tattered clothes, dirty faces, barely any shoes on their feet, hungry, living in shanties across America? No, you don't. So my big question is, where in the hell are all the children? Where are they? You can't hide 2.5 million of anything, more or less people, children that are absolutely dependent on you adults. And let me just answer why you don't see these children. Because they're in dungeons and basements. They are being trafficked constantly and moved around like strippers on a strip show circuit, just moved around. Or, as Donald Trump has said repeatedly, and people that we know and speak to have said it repeatedly to us, a lot of them are already dead. Meaning they have been organ harvested, they've been ritually sacrificed, satanic ritually sacrificed, or they've just been raped to death. No one knows who these children are. There is no paper trail. The only place that there's a paper trail is in the UC portal in HHS, and no one can get into it. But once they leave HHS or the NGOs, no one has any idea where they're at. They're lost. Think of this. I got a son, 13. Right now, I know that he is in bed reading a book, said his prayers with his mom, and is going to bed. Tomorrow morning at X amount of time, he's going to get up. He's going to take a shower. He's going to have breakfast. He's going to go to school. I know right where he is. He's got football practice. So we're going to go through the whole ritual. Then he's going to go to bed again, and we're going to start over. Never, never, never have I lost my son. Never. So how do you lose 2.5 million children? And then you start to tie in. Then you start to just drill down. United States of America, number one consumer of child pornography in the world. One of the top countries in the world that actually physically pays to have sex with children. Epstein, P. Diddy, 60 million abortions, mutilating our children's genitals as young as 3, 4, 5 years old. 175,000 genders. You can rip off your genders and your genitals and rip your breast off, and then you are a unicorn. You're anything you want to be. Tampons in boys' bathrooms as young as 4th grade. And you are telling me that you can't come to that realization that is how sick and perverted the United States of America is? We are in a moral valley We are in a moral cesspool, and we are without God. We're not. And when you begin to understand what we are doing as a nation with children, if you think God's not going to throw a millstone around the neck of America and toss us into the darkest depths of sea, then you're a fool. You're an absolute fool, because it's coming.
I feel like we're being afforded a chance to make this right. And if we don't, I agree that millstone is coming. I want to say it's Proverbs, and I don't remember which one, but being a voice for the voiceless. And I mean, we're failing it, and I get it. We have immigration's an issue, and that needs to be addressed. I've been very public about my stance on that, just like you gentlemen. But here we're talking about something different. We're talking about the lives of just kids. And I mean, the one thing I hear a lot, JJ, when people are shocked to hear, is that we're the number one consumers that you said right now. But what are some of the numbers behind this? Like, how much money are they making, or how do they determine that the US is the number one consumer? Like make that statement real for people.
Well, they're literally counting the clicks on the internet of child pornography.
What they call them, C-SPANs or something?
They're able to get in the back doors and of websites, and they can see. Let me give you two examples how prolific it is, and I'll turn it over to Ryan. We interviewed a couple gentlemen that are inside the child sex trafficking world, like on our side. And I asked them, how many law enforcement officers do you need? I'm the president. I just made you the czar, and I want it eradicated. I mean, now. By noon, I want it all shut down. I want everyone arrested. Tell me, with no money's an object, tell me how many law enforcement officers. You know what he says? 2 people said to me that are high level, I need 500,000 to start.
Oh, blink of an eye.
I said, wait a minute, whoa. There's only 660,000 officers, state, local, and federal, across America. You need almost 80% of them? Yes, that's to start. Because once you peel back the first top layer, he says, you're going to be shocked at how many pedophiles you have in America. Shocked. Like, you're never going to believe it, because you're going to peel back and you're going to keep peeling, and it's going to get bigger and broader and deeper. And you're like, it doesn't end. There's no end. There's no end. And then how I know from a Border Patrol's perspective, Border Patrol agent's perspective, throughout my career, 24 years and even beyond, the narco smugglers would never get dirty and deal with humans. They just didn't. It was like a ninth grade football team, and the narcos were like the college team. Like, I'm not going to go dilly-dally with a bunch of ninth graders. We're the varsity. We're college. We're SEC. We're the NFL. But because Mayorkas and Biden have stripped away all the law enforcement on the border, now it's not dirty, meaning I don't have to smuggle them up to the border, pay all the smuggling fees, pay drivers, scouts, pay off the Border Patrol. I don't have to do anything. I just have to push them across the border. The Border Patrol takes them into custody, processes them, gives them to NGOs, and the NGOs deliver those kids from the southern cartels to my northern partners in America. The United States American government is trafficking children, and they all know it. Everyone that is in the federal government knows they're trafficking children, and they're not doing anything about it. They're not, and they know it.
And let me jump in there, Judy,
Yes,
because the
go
part
ahead.
you missed was HHS. So they come across the border, Border Patrol agents grab the children. There's literally cartel members. If you guys just go on YouTube right now and you Google cartel drops child over border wall, you'll watch video after video of cartel members bringing a child to an 18-foot border wall. Like you're at a balcony at a frat party and you want to drop a beer down to your buddy, so you reach your arms over, get him as low as you can, and just let it drop. That's what they're doing with children. And they drop them and bring them to very specific points at the border where there's ground sensors, night vision, camera systems, constant patrol by Border Patrol. And within minutes, Border Patrol arrives and picks up that child off the ground if the child can't get up itself. At that point, the child is taken and they get medical attention if they need it. They're just with Border Patrol for a few hours, maybe some food, shower, whatever they need. And then they're sent from the Border Patrol to HHS's custody. Then they spend 2 to 14 days in HHS's custody, depending on if the child has been raped or molested or not, determines how long it can stay there. And 80% of the women and children coming out across that border are sexually assaulted or molested on their way to America. So almost all of them are probably there for 14 days. After that 14-day period, they are then handed over to an NGO. And then the child is sitting waiting at the NGO while HHS is coordinating a sponsor. So HHS, our government, is the person that's supposed to vet the person that the child is going to. So then once they vet this quote unquote sponsor, they give the order to the NGO and the NGO goes and delivers him. That's where Carlos is the escort, actually making that final leg of the journey. Carlos works for the NGOs, but he's not actually inside the facilities with all the children. He'll be there for an hour when he picks them up. He'll talk to them. He'll be at the Border Patrol intake processing facilities picking them up, because the NGO also picks them up from Border Patrol and delivers them to HHS. And then they stay at HHS and they come pick them up from HHS and take them to the NGO. Then they come pick them up from the NGO and take them to the final location. So that is where the major component of this, and I think a lot of people don't understand, that every one of these children that is missing has been delivered to a home, building, or facility that was approved and vetted by HHS. So let's take this a step further. Everybody that's watching this, I want to be very clear too. This is not Republican or Democrat. This is not left versus right. This is good versus evil. And this is a Democrat agenda that has been bankrolled by the Republicans. When the Republicans gained control of the House, after 2 years of lecturing us how they were going to use the power to the purse to rein in all of this radical spending, they haven't reined in a gosh damn thing. The last bill that Speaker Johnson passed was either 5.9 or 7.9 billions. Either one is astronomical, going to the exact NGOs that are trafficking these children. And he passed that bill and gave them that funding 5 days after muckraker Anthony Rubin broke the story. So Carlos, one of our whistleblowers, went back undercover after he blew the whistle, because there's so many of these NGOs popping up. They don't even recognize the number one whistleblower in America that's exposing all of them. They hired him again for a month. Carlos was in undercover inside these agencies. Now, the thing is that he doesn't always get the information of where he's taking the kids. A lot of times he'll get a text at 3 a.m, says, be at the facility at 6. He arrives at 6, and then they give him the address of where he's taking that child. Plane tickets are already booked by the companies. Carlos will go there, pick up the child, and deliver him. Doesn't give you much time to give me a heads up of where you're delivering this child to. But every once in a while, they move a larger number of kids, or there's a special situation, and he gets that lead like 3 days in advance. So he did. He texted me. I said, I'm busy. I'm sorry, Carlos. I'd do it in a heartbeat if I could. But Anthony wasn't. So 3 or 4 different times, Anthony Rubin was at baggage claim, because that's where they deliver the children. The escort takes them to baggage claim, and the sponsor is supposed to meet them at baggage claim. Sometimes Carlos would deliver them to the house, which is very rare now, because I think they don't want these escorts knowing or seeing the buildings that they're actually delivering these children to. So he meets them at Border Patrol. Anthony tails the person back to the facility. 3 out of 4 were going to foster care facilities, which is illegal. You can't mix migrant children with American children in these foster care systems. And 3 out of the 4 foster care systems had a man living at that facility, at that address, that had aggravated sexual assault charges or pending aggravated sexual assault charges. So the facilities that HHS is vetting, that our government is delivering children to, had known sexual predators living at them. And the 4th one, Alpha, he said he walked up to this building, barbed wire fencing wrapped around this entire house, boarded up windows. He goes, if a child ever walked in there, he never walked out of there alive. And these are the type of facilities. Not to mention, he'll tell him about Andy's Hall with Deb. Andy's, the last one she was showing us on her laptop, where the kids were being delivered to. The hall where they took
the hall.
Yeah, Andy's Hall, Andy's reception hall was the building in Texas where all those kids were going.
Oh, it's abomination, dude. Alpha, think of what Carlos said. Carlos said to us, well, some of the facilities have babies. I said, well, how many? Well, there's about 80 cribs. 80 cribs. He says it's like a horror show. Like you walk in and kids screaming. And I said, well, okay, hold on a second. You have 80 kids, toddlers, and babies. How many people are like, is it a 2-to-1 ratio? Like you have 2 people? He laughed at me. He says, no, there's 80 babies and there's 4 people.
Oh my God.
4. Can you imagine? Can you imagine 1 to 3, a 1 to 3 ratio? That woman would never stop, right? Feeding, changing, crying. 1 to 20? 1 to 20? Listen, we can sit here and argue all day long and have discussions. It does nothing. because right now, whereas child abuse at a level that we can't even begin to truly articulate is happening right now in America, right now. And our federal government is funding it. Do you know how I know the federal government knows this is happening? In the United States Border Patrol, I would say at the height, when Obama had the caravans coming up and Donald Trump, we were arresting about 10 to 15,000 unaccompanied alien children a year. That's a lot, but it's controllable. Meaning we had DNA testing, we had site visits on the sponsors. We knew who the sponsors were, meaning there were parents, family, aunts and uncles. We could test them and see the DNA is right, and it was very, very controlled. The first year under Joe Biden, it went over 10 times that. It was close to over 120,000 unaccompanied alien children. All DNA testing ceased. All visits, all vetting the sponsors stopped. Everything stopped. And then you would think after you did 120,000 unaccompanied alien children, you do everything in your power to shut that border down. Nope. They accelerated it, made it more efficient, and now they're pushing up right on 500,000. 500,000. But you have to, if you're going to say this out loud, then you have to go the next step. And you have to say the big question, why? Why? Why would you allow this to happen? Outside, you are intentionally and strategically trying to destroy the United States of America. And this is one of those unintended consequences that it just comes with crime. And we're going to eat it. But there has to be a bigger, like Carlos said in the interview. At first, he thought it was about money. He's the escort. I thought it was all about the money. Everyone was getting rich. And then he said, after a while, I started to realize this is bigger than just money. This is evil. They're trafficking children. I was trafficking children. And he left.
Listen. To that point, JJ, everyone that's on the screen right now, I'd go into battle, shoulder to shoulder with any of you men, just because I know how your hearts are. People you better be prepared when you guys go and you watch this film. Let me just tell you that right now. You better come with all your senses intact. I consider myself a very strong man, you guys. And when you asked him the question, JJ, about these infants, I don't remember if he said it was like 3 months or 4 months or 5 months, but it was a small
3-month-old girl.
Yeah. And you're like, well, did you have Pampers or formula? And he's like, well, no. I mean, sometimes you do. And you asked, you told him, well, man, these babies need to be fed like every 3, 4, 5 hours. It's why women are so exhausted. You told them. And my smallest right now is just over a year. And when I heard him talk about that, JJ, I was like overwhelmed, hurt, and overwhelmed, pissed at the same time, because I know when my little one's hungry, the only thing they know how to do is just cry to communicate. And I go and I comfort her, while I make her a bottle or something, and she feels that, that warmth, that love, that energy. And just knowing, man, like you said, like he said, like in those Walmart style ones where there's like, 80, 90 cribs and, 4 people, just knowing that these babies, they don't have that, man. Like they're just crying. They're just in pain because they're hungry, or they're in pain because they're probably getting irritated because they're full of pee or poop or both. And it's just, they're the most innocent thing in the world. And like you said, it's happening right now. Like right now, while we're doing this, it's happening.
Well, it's worse than that.
Helping to facilitate it.
Well, it's worse than that, because someone right now is sexually raping that child, that baby. I know it's hard to believe. I know it's hard to even fathom. But like, we interviewed these people, and I'm going to get graphic, and I actually don't really care how people's feelings are, or they're uncomfortable. And I asked them, what does it look like? I mean, walk me through what it looks like, smells like, sounds like when you go get these children. And he says, well, you have to first, before we go into that, he says, you have to understand the physicality of it. He says, so you have a 3-month-old child or 3-year-old child, a boy or a girl, and then you have an adult man with an erect penis. It doesn't fit in a toddler's vagina or their anus. It doesn't fit. So what do? They destroy the young girl's vagina or her anus, or the young man's mouth and his anus. They tear it up so bad that it's shredded. Then they have festering sores and STDs. And then in order to get them to stop crying, because they have a couple more people that they sold him to or her to, that they just shoot them up with drugs. And then they just continually rape them. So, and I'm speaking this way, not as a shock value. I'm speaking this way because no one will talk about it in these terms, because it's so disgusting. It's so evil. You want to take a shower and you just want to go to bed and not think about it. But you can't not think about it anymore. Those days of straddling the fence, or I'm going to go to Nordstrom's and go shopping, get some coffee with my friends, and I'm not going to talk about it because it's not going to happen to me. Well, you're a fool. It is going to happen. If you think tens of millions of downloads of child pornography every month in the United States of America, do you know how many people, millions of people, have to download millions of photographs and videos? That means you have millions and millions and millions of pedophiles in America. So the probability that a pedophile is in your neighborhood, is coaching your kids' sports, is a teacher in your school, a pastor in your religious organization, in your government, in entertainment, is of course exponentially off the charts. But if we are going to correct a problem, you have to talk about the problem. You can't skirt around it and say, well, it's kind of like molestation and it's just like a little cupping and then some spooning. No. I'm not going to let you get away with that. No, it is bending the child over as they are tied to a bed, inserting adult male penis inside the anus of a 3-year-old boy or a 5-year-old girl's vagina. And then, just like Basil said in our interview, okay, you want to talk about it? You want to say you don't want to talk about the kids? Then let's talk about a 16-year-old girl. 16-year-old girl has just got off a train. She has to service another 20 people. How do you think she is going to feel in her genitals after being raped 20 to 30 to 40 times in a night? And like he said, and a couple other people said, you're not love making. This is brutality. This is beating, punching, cigarette burns, broken jaws, missing teeth, broken arms, on top of everything else. Let me give you an example of how this plays out, okay? I just read this and I heard it from someone else that we were interviewing. Young girl, 4 years old, I think, raped 34 times by 34 different men. She had 37 surgeries on her vagina so that she could urinate properly as she gets older. She will never enjoy sex. She'll never be able to be a mother. And she will carry that trauma forever. Let's put this even more perspective. A woman gets raped in America. Horrific. That woman, no matter what incredible belief she has in God and the psychotherapy and a loving husband if she's married or a future spouse, and they love on her, she is going to carry that pain and that suffering forever. It becomes a part of her. That has become who she is. That's one time, Alpha. What if I told you that these women, these young girls, not women, these young girls, these young toddlers, by the time they get out, if they live, it will be tens of thousands. That one horrific experience, a child may experience it 5, 10, 15, 20 times a day. Yeah, you go ahead.
Yeah, let me say something too. Is I'm sure a lot of people watching this, as I'm even hearing it myself, even doing this for the last 4 months, it's hard to believe. And this is exactly why we did this documentary different. We didn't just provide you with the documentary. So on our website for $9.99 was the same price for Invaded. That was what we said on this mission to go film the first documentary. When we came back and we realized we had all of this stuff on child trafficking, I said, we can put out a second documentary specifically to help these children, and we can just give it away, right? It's just included in the package that's already part of our website. So we never increase the price or charge you a penny more to provide you with this information to help free these children. On our website for $14.99, you get both documentaries, and then you get 35 full-length, fully produced interviews. So when the fake news or anybody that's watching this thinks that we made this documentary and manipulated words or changed things or spun it to try to make the documentary better, no. You can go watch all of the full-length interviews. They're all on our, well, they're not all on our website. There's about 22 out of 35, but obviously our editing team is just a couple guys, so we're pretty backed up, but we're going to get them out in the next like 7 to 14 days. All 35 should be up there. So anybody in your audience that wants to support our work and actually wants to hear these whole stories and really educate themselves on what's being done to these children, again, Alpha's putting the promo code up there. It's Alpha15, which you guys get you 15% off everything store-wide. And if save that code for Christmas if you guys like it. We have DVDs that are coming out as well. So what better gift to give to your liberal blue-haired friends out there than one of these documentaries so you can see what this government has done to these children. I'll hand it back to you.
And just so everybody knows, I actually played the Invaded trailer before we brought these gentlemen on, and I'll be playing the Traffic trailer when these gentlemen exit. So you guys can see both of them. The reason I know you're telling the truth is because of investigations that I got to be a part of, and gentlemen that I still talk to there in the industry. But I also had the opportunity to speak with Paul Hutchinson. I'm sure you guys might be familiar with him. He was the one that the Sound of Freedom was based on him in real life. And off camera, he goes, "Hey man," he tells me about this incident where he's asking one of the ladies about the girl, and she's talking about how they can make them virgins again with surgeries, and that they can do that a couple times before they don't do it anymore. And I'm like, what? He's like, yeah. So after one guy goes and gets a girl that's a virgin, they'll go and do surgical stuff to her to make her be like a virgin again. So this way, then they can do that a few times before it's not feasible. And it goes to what you're just describing, JJ, the damage and destruction that they're doing to this woman's vagina and pelvic area. It's to the part where they can't even do it no more. There was, and I think I talked to you the last time I had you on, JJ. I was watching a documentary, and I'm not sure if it was Ukraine or Romania, but it was out in that area. And I'm trying to look for it because it's just a heartbreaking one, man. This lady's having a baby to give to the traffickers. Mm-hmm. Like she's literally got pregnant to sell this. Like she's gonna make money off of this. And they're trying to, the guy that's, interviewing her is trying to kind of get in a way to where maybe he can buy the baby from her so he doesn't go to where the intentions are. But in there, they say that some of these kids, and you guys touched on this, they drug them. So that way they don't have to deal with the crying and all that stuff. But they were talking about, it still shocks me. Like my brain struggles believing it, even though I know it's true, that you had 5 and 6 year olds trying to commit suicide. Mm-hmm. Like what? They don't have the maturity. Like you're telling me that a 5 and 6 year old, like it's just their primitive instinct kicks in to be like, the only way out of this is to die.
Self-preservation in a weird, twisted way. I'd rather die than subject myself. Now, this is something else that we have to discuss. And Ryan and I discovered this. Look, I was like you. I was in law enforcement 24 years. I saw the child sex trafficking, but on a different level, right? Nobody's seen it on this level. Even the I call them child hunters, the child sex trafficking hunters, the people that go out and find them and get inside the organizations and take them down, because they even said to me, we had some kind of case management, but once Biden came and opened the border, we just, it's 90%, 100% increase. We're drowning. were drowning. But what Ryan and I discovered, unfortunately, was people kept telling us, people that we interviewed about 12 people in various ways of this documentary involved in child sex trafficking on our side, of course. And they said to me, JJ, you keep focusing on the child sex trafficking and child labor trafficking. They said, you need to talk about two other things. And I'm like, oh God, okay, well, I'm here. Let me hear it. I don't want to hear it, but I got to hear it. Well, JJ, you're not talking about the organ harvesting. And then you're not talking about the third thing is child ritual, sacrifice ritual for satanic. And I'm like, oh God, okay. How real is that? Oh, no. It's real. And then they told me something that was even stranger. And I didn't think about it, right? Because you get kind of myopic, right? In law enforcement too, you kind of get myopic and you deal with, this is what I deal with. You go to California, you got Interstate 5 and Interstate 15. Interstate 5 goes all the way up to the Canadian border, but it's not a one-way street. It goes north, it goes south and north, but it also goes north to south. And they're telling me that the cartels that are here in America, and I've heard through multiple sources that yes, the cartels are in America and they're running the drug trade, which is the same distribution system for the children they're using. And they said they're kidnapping American children. 500,000, remember, 400 to 800,000 go missing. They can't find them. Where are they? They're kidnapping American children, taking them to Mexico and flying them to Africa. Why are they flying to Africa? Because that's where they harvest their organs in Africa. Why do they not just go grab African children and Latin American children because they're throwaways, meaning their parents are actually selling them to the black market? Well, the reason is because in the world of child harvesting, organ harvesting, there is this belief that American children are less parasitic. So their organs are better and cost more money. So they kidnap our children, rip their organs from them, and then sell their body to be sacrificed. I know it sounds crazy. Ryan and I have been doing this and talking about it for so long, and I'm very aware of the words that I use because words have power and meaning. I do not need to make this more dramatic than it already is. I just need to state the truth and facts because it's so shocking. But it doesn't matter what your feelings are. It doesn't matter if you like Ryan and I, you think we're two jackasses. It doesn't matter. It doesn't change any of it from being the truth. Just like Tim Ballard. They hate him now. They hate him. And I say, and when someone asks me, well, I heard this, that, and the other about Tim Ballard. You know what I say? So what? Let's say it's all true, which I don't believe, but let's say it's all true. What does it change? It changes nothing. They're still trafficking children into America. Same thing. You don't like us. You don't like our conclusion to it. You don't like that that we name the federal government, that pedophiles are in the highest level of our government across both parties. And you don't like it. It makes you uncomfortable. It still doesn't change the fact that 500,000 children are missing. And you don't have a rebuttal to me, except you don't agree with me. Fine. You don't agree with me. Then tell me where the hell the children are. And then I just let it sit there because there's silence, because they have no answer. They're so ideologically bent that they can't even get out of their leftist insanity to admit that children are missing. You think it wouldn't matter. Like if you told me right now, JJ, Donald Trump, his wife Melania, is on the board of a child sex trafficking NGO in Slovenia, I would say then she needs to go to jail. We need to investigate her, and she goes to jail. I don't care if she's Melania Trump or not. She goes to jail. Well, guess what? Jill Biden was on the board of Save the Children in Guatemala. That NGO is being sued by the Guatemalan government, and the state of Texas is being sued for trafficking children. Jill Biden was on the board. And no one talks about it. Has anybody in your audience heard of this before? Honestly, I'd love to see the chat. Did you know that Joe Biden was on the board of an NGO in Guatemala that is being allegated that they are sex trafficking the children? No, the answer is no. That's how sick our world is. You would rather have Kamala Harris in because you hate Donald Trump, but you can't even push yourself away from Democrat Republic to say, oh my God, this has nothing to do with politics. This is children. What are we going to do? We have to save them. No.
Here's a story. I don't know, JJ or Ryan, if you guys are familiar with it. One of my buddies, he's the assistant police chief, Millersville PD. It's kind of been going viral the last week and a half on X. They went along with Craig Solomon Sawyer and did an operation where they ended up exposing over 70 plus child predators, adult men that were seeking minor girls. NC5 News right there in northern Tennessee attacks my partner and Craig, saying QAnon cops, conspiracy cops. The Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, TBI, raids the Millerville PD, the chief's house, his house, when these guys are exposing the child predators. You have media that's complicit in it. You have federal agencies that are complicit in it. So I hope people are realizing like this isn't being overly dramatic. As a matter of fact, you can't be over dramatic about this when you realize how sinister this is. I mean, there's JJ, I was in a space where it wasn't that long. I had to be within the last month. This lady never even heard of the rape trees. She was like, what are you guys talking about? And it was like, Ryan, go explain what that is, man.
Yeah, so these rape trees where the cartel members have staging areas where they're trafficking these children because they're coming from pretty much the bottom of Mexico all the way up to the southern border. So that's a very long journey, especially when you're trafficking 10, 20, maybe it's 5 children. It's still a long journey. You need to have resting points. So from what we've been told from the sources that we have, these cartels will set up these huts. And they're almost like makeshift shanties. Some of them look like even like an old trailer, just the end, like an oil rig trailer, just the basic square box. Some of them are up in the middle of hills. Most of them are stationed near trees. So from what we are told, that there's not enough room, nor do the cartels care how the children are stored, right? They just want to make sure that they don't escape and they don't run away. So as the cartel members are drinking, partying, having a good time inside their hut, the women and children are chained up to the tree outside. So then when they decide that their buzz is high enough or whatever, they feel like it, they go out there and they viciously, savagely gang rape the women and children that are all chained up to the tree. And we had a source that had took an entire team of basically special operators, and they traveled the entire southern border, all 3,000 miles of the border on the Mexico side. So this woman stands up soft side facilities for our military. So they would go over to Iraq, Kuwait, Afghanistan. The troops would secure an area, and then her team would come in. They would set up and build the soft sided facilities to house 5,000, 10,000. So that's what she was doing for the United States government when she realized that our government was standing up these soft sided facilities in all 50 states across America. These are the FEMA camps that people talk about, that our government. So we have a whistleblower that's giving us rock solid intel that they are standing up these FEMA camps and they're empty. So what are they doing building 50 FEMA camps that can hold 10,000, 20,000, 100,000 people in them and standing them up in all 50 states? What are these people planning? In the process of doing this, she said she got a calling from God. And God told her that he wanted her to leave this job, leave all the money behind. She would be all right. And he wanted her to fund it out of her own pocket. So she took a team of special forces guys, special operators, probably Navy SEALs, military guys as her guides. And they went into Mexico and they traveled that entire border and documented. And that is the intel that she was telling us. And then I just spoke with another gentleman yesterday who's another whistleblower who's actually interviewing these cartel members. So he's going over into foreign nations, into Mexico prisons, into prisons in El Salvador, and he's actually interviewing these cartel members that traffic children and traffic humans. And he's telling the same stories. He's hearing the exact same thing. So these rape trees are real. They're all over. And then what the cartels will do as their souvenir, it's almost like a trophy. After they rape somebody, one article of clothing, whether that's a child's underwear, a woman's panties, or a bra, is hung up on that tree as a trophy. So when you're walking through, or if you ever see photos of Mexico, and it reminds you of like the shoes on the telephone lines, when you're kids, you'd throw your shoe up there, but the cartels put the women and children's underwear on these trees like trophies. And maybe JJ can add more to that. I think
they're rape trees, and if you can believe this, so in order to control, you got to understand, you have to control they're human beings, so you have to control them. So one way they control the men is they make the men sit there and watch as they rape their wives or their children. Let me give you an example. I wrote in my book, Invaded, and Tom Homan tells this story and tells it in front of Congress and congressional testimony. And this is the truth. And this is an anomaly. I mean, it's not an anomaly. This is an everyday thing. Okay. And he's talking about this, and he says he was down in Texas and went to the coroner. The sheriff, he's doing a ride along with the sheriff, and the sheriff said, "Hey, we got a call. There's a drowning." So they go in to talk to the doctor and see the family. It's a Nigerian, I think, African family, but I would say Nigerian. Okay, mother, father, and like a 3-year-old girl. 9-month-old little child. Doesn't really matter. 9 months, 3 years, who cares? She drowned in the currents at the Rio Grande. But the coroner brought the sheriff and Tom Homan over and said, "Hey, I'm not allowed to tell you this, but I'm going to tell you this. That child didn't. I mean, she died of drowning. Okay, but she's been sexually penetrated in every orifice of her body. She got destroyed, so she was going to die no matter what. But she died of drowning." And I need your audience to understand, and I know it's going to sound harsh, and it's going to sound really unchristian almost to a point. When these women and children come up from the Darien Gap or they fly into Mexico and they make their journey, this is not even debated. 60 to 80%, meaning 6 or 8 out of 10 women and children, every 10 group of 10, 6 or 8 of them are raped or sexually assaulted, women and children. And as you talk to these workers inside these NGOs and the government facilities, they're releasing these children into America that have been raped. Historically, through research, the vast majority of those children that are raped act out in that and become ticking time bombs in America. So you have released hundreds of thousands of rape victims into America. Now, the real Christian thing to do is to remove all the children back into their country like we did under Trump and everyone else. You go back to your home country and you ensure their safety. But America, you have a price to pay, more than money, but at least money to get the proper medical and psychological care, because we created this. They would not have made that journey if they were not instructed to and told that you are going to be able to pass through the border unmolested and be released, because Joe Biden promised them. I watched it. I was on the border my last year in the Border Patrol. I saw the people come into my stations wearing T-shirts of "I love Biden." I think I'm an intelligent man. I don't even remember right now who the new president of Mexico is. It's a female, but I don't know her name, and she's Jewish, and it's kind of like a Jewish Mexican name, but that's all I know. They know Joe Biden's name and then paint it on a T-shirt. This is intentional, this is strategic, and this is purposeful. Our federal government is the enemy of the people. They created this invasion to fundamentally transform America. There is no other rational explanation. And I love your audience or anyone to please means test me. Tell me anything that's halfway intelligent about what you think it is, if it's not what I say. I want to hear it. I want to be wrong. I honestly swear to God, I want to be wrong. But after spending 24 years in the Border Patrol, spending a year researching and writing a best-selling book, and then being a part of this team with Ryan Matta, where he just put out, I think, the greatest documentary you've ever seen, ever. I'm telling you with complete certainty and without any hesitation, the United States federal government is the world's largest child sex trafficking organization in modern history, period.
And they're not stopping there. Aaron talks about it. They're trying to pass laws and policies and legislation to not only make it easier, but to punish the people that try to expose it. Like that. Like that's how evil that this is. And we talked a little bit about the last time, but it's been a couple months, JJ, and the audience has grown a lot. So I want to make sure that the new audience is aware of this, and it's touched in the documentary. But you have Jewish Family Services and Catholic Charities whose hands are dirty in this. Do you gentlemen kind of want to touch on that a little bit?
Their hands are not dirty, Alpha. They are covered in blood. And they cloak themselves in God and religion. Now, let me just make sure everyone's clear. I'm Christian and I'm Catholic. Catholic Charities does not get a dime from me. And they are going to, Catholic Church is going to say the same thing as Jewish Family Services and Lutheran Family Services and all the other services that are tied to religion. And their parent companies, meaning the religion, is going to say, well, they're not affiliated with us. Okay. Number one, nobody uses the name Catholic without the Catholic Church approval. Two, every Catholic Charities has a United States bishop tied to their board, meaning he is the final say. Catholic Charities has received tens of billions of dollars from the federal government. Jewish Family Service, tens of billions. We're talking about, at the end of Joe Biden's term, he will have spent over $1 trillion on illegal immigration. Not my word, not my statistics, theirs. Their low end is $700 billion, and the high is over $1 trillion. Catholic Charities, listen, you can't move. They had 30,000 people cross the border under Joe Biden in 4 years and be released. The United States government does not have the transportation apparatus to move 30 million people. It takes intense distribution system. So what did they do? They had to partner with the evil NGOs. And when your audience understands NGOs, Catholic Charities, Jewish Family Services, they don't have any allegiance to the United States of America. They're an international company, organization. So you have foreign nationals that are now dictating how, when, and how many people we move. The federal government has abdicated all responsibility. Do not think that they did it out of the kindness of their heart. They did it strategically, because all the rapes that are happening inside the NGOs on our side, the children are being raped by the people that are running the organizations. It's everyone knows it. The DOJ, our corrupt DOJ, it's so bad they're suing Southwest Keys because the enormous amounts of complaints of rapes inside of our NGOs on American soil, paid by you, the Americans. The NGOs traffic the children. They are the apparatus. They are the Amazon of the federal government. They are the ones that create and stand up the super Walmarts. They're the ones that create the giant Amazon distribution hubs. Do you know how many child detention facilities there are in Texas alone? Over 300. Do you know how many child detention facilities are spread across America? Over 600. So you've created a distribution center, a system to move packages, because let's just be clear. These children are not children. They are a package to be delivered to someone. That's it.
It's, I forget who I heard it from, and I've heard it several times. It's, once you use drugs, the drugs are gone. These kids, you get to use them over and over. And like you said, they're an item. That's the way they see them. And it's horrible. I'm going to play the trailer in a minute, and I want to come back and I want you guys to talk a little bit about this film, kind of what the mission is. And also whatever ideas you guys have to, how do we bring an end to this? What's the first couple steps that we need to do, since this is so large and so comprehensive, that the system that this evil has. So let me play this trailer, and when we come back, we'll have those parts of the conversation next.
Thanks.
So there's the trailer. Um, what what would you guys say is priority one on the mission of this film?
Yeah. So, all I know how to do is create awareness, right? That is my specialty, editing and creating content. So, my mindset is obviously we're going to be shadow banned. They're going to do everything humanly imaginable to prevent this coming out. So, what I've just shared with your live chat, and I've also put it in the main comments, is the 9 trailers to our documentary. Share them on Reddit, Facebook. I mean, be careful. I don't want to see you guys get yourself nuked off the internet. So maybe you just cut a piece of it or whatever you think is appropriate to share, trim them up, put your logos on them, however you want to use our content. And maybe the trailers are too much. So what else I'm going to give you is a second link. And that's going to be to over 200 fully edited short clips. These are our border footage. This is our trafficking footage. These are pieces of interviews that I've done. Me and JJ traveling across this journey. They're already edited. You can throw your logo on top of it and brand them with your own stuff. We're not trying to say that they're our work. Just put it out there. Just let's cram as much of this down their throat, because that's what Kyle Seraphin says it best. Kyle, he's a good friend of ours, right? He says, everybody in America is always chasing a laser pointer. The cat will chase the laser pointer around the room all day long, but it'll never attack the hand. America, that's what we do. We're chasing laser pointer. Oh, Chris Wray did this. Oh, Biden did this. Oh, Mayorkas did this. Oh, Kamala did this. It's just laser pointer, laser pointer, laser pointer, but nobody's ever held accountable because maybe the crime's not egregious or, oh yeah, they're above the law. They could get away with it. We're talking about children's lives here. We have given America enough crimes in this documentary to put this entire administration behind bars. No questions asked. And it shouldn't be left versus right. It should be good versus evil. And these people are evil. These are the wicked. When God talks about the wicked people in the Bible, these are them. They cannot be forgiven. There is no redemption for these people. Once you violate one of God's children, you cannot be redeemed. You get a millstone around your neck and you get cast into the sea. Or how about at the very least, you end up in prison in America. And we have a call to action on our website where we're trying to get 10 million signatures to sign a petition demanding that the death penalty be implemented in all 50 states. So I think that's going to be a huge push. Our goal is 10 million signatures. We're only at 240. I've been on I think this is actually the first big podcast we've actually been on since we launched. So thanks, Alpha. So we've aired this in front of a few hundred people, and we got about 240 signatures, but there's 1,200 people in this chat. So how many people are willing to take 1 minute out of their day? We just want your name, your email, and your state. Phone number is optional, so you don't have to give it. We're not trying to collect your phone numbers and get a bunch of information. We just want to be able to, hey, these are ways that we can get into contact with these 10 million people. We want to deliver this to Donald Trump, because whether you love or hate the man, that man has done more to stop child trafficking, not just than the previous presidents before him, but every single president before him combined. That's what. So if you're on the fence about voting for Donald Trump, I don't think many people are at this point, but if you are, just know, if you vote for Kamala Harris, these 500,000 children are dead, gone. They will never be seen again. Nobody's going to be coming for them. And people like me and JJ and Alpha are probably going to be fleeing this country if we make it out before they put us in the gulag. So I'll pass it over to JJ. That's all I know how to do, guys.
I think the other way, and I agree with Ryan, and he came up with that idea with the sign a petition. I think it's great.
And and the website, one more time, is it a different website or the same website, Ryan?
To download the links, it's in a OneDrive file. So I'm going to throw you that link down here. That's a different link. It's actually be in the top of your comments down there. But everything else, the petition is on thisistreason.com. It'll be a tab at the top that'll say call to action. Go ahead, JJ.
No, that's great. I have another take on that as well. As you mentioned it a little bit, Alpha, police departments have very small units when it comes to child trafficking or human trafficking. They almost don't exist. They just don't exist. Why is that? Because they're not trained and they don't want to do it. We don't have enough people to go and investigate these crimes. They just don't. But I honestly think, you ask, what can we do to stop this? I'm going to have the same answer as I have as, what do we do to stop the border? What do we do to stop crime? What do we do to stop the LGBTQ XYZ getting in our schools and in libraries, schools, churches? And it all comes down to the male, the man, the American man. Where the hell is he? Honestly, I think that's a fair question. God created all of us to be protectors and providers for our children and for our wives and women in our lives. And we have failed, and we have failed miserably Why? Because we're all afraid of being called vile names and ostracized. So we have remained silent. We have bent a knee as they told us, you are going to chant men can have babies. Boys need tampons. Grown men with fake breasts out with erections are allowed to dance in front of our children, are allowed to put them on their laps and read them story time in our libraries and our schools. It's okay to murder babies inside the womb and outside the vaginal canal. It's okay to rip their body parts off and sell them. It's okay to have 500,000 kids come into America and lose them. It's okay for 400 to 800,000 of our children to go missing and no one gives a crap. In fact, we're going to funnel more money in order to spade and neuter cats and dogs than worry about our children. And we did it, and we allowed it all to happen because the American man is physically weak. They are emotionally destroyed, spiritually void of any kind of God. And then we are all shocked that the three of us are here talking about the sick evil of child trafficking as if it just happened. There is a theory called the slippery slope theory. It is 100% true. You don't end up down in a valley of darkness overnight. You take small steps down the hill, then you begin to slip. And then you try to catch yourself. And then the more you struggle, the farther you slip. And then before you know it, you're trafficking children and harvesting their organs and killing them for sacrifice. It takes time. You've destroyed the family, the American unit. You destroyed it. You've emasculated all the men. You told them we don't need you and cast them aside. And now because God created a world in perfect union and perfect order, you've taken pieces of that order and cast them aside. And now the world is off center. The world is not connected properly. Everyone will say this, left, right, and the middle. If you ask them honestly in a private conversation, do you feel as if everything is aligned in the world? And the answer is no. Well, why is that? Because when you have natural order where things are supposed to be lined up a certain way for the machine to work, then you remove the parts. What do you think is going to happen? Chaos. But our world and all of our problems, all of them, I lay at the feet of the American man. All of them. The father is gone. Gone. How do you leave your children? I have a son. I would never leave him. Never. If my wife and I got divorced, God willing, it never happens, I'm not moving somewhere. I'm moving next door. If I can't have custody, I'm going to see him. I'm going to physically wave at him. He's going to know I'm here, dude. I'm never leaving. I'm always here for you. I'm never going anywhere.
100%.
But where are the men? As big a question as where the hell are the children? The biggest question is, where the hell are you, men? Where are you? You think you're a man because you have children and you don't take care of them? You're a scumbag. You take care of your family. They're dependent on you. If you got to work 5 jobs, you work 5 jobs. You do whatever you got to do. But that is the big plan the whole time, wasn't it? Remove the father. Remove him from the family. We don't need him. Name me. Go ahead. I challenge you. Name me one sitcom in the last 2 decades that had a very attractive, competent, successful, moral man. Go ahead. Tell me. No, he's always a big fat slob. He cannot tie his shoes. He can't pick out the clothes. His children mock him and call him stupid. And his wife is beautiful. And she's more intelligent. That's it. That's America. You don't think that's programming on purpose? Are you serious? This is a very tough topic, and it's very difficult to hear. So I appreciate you giving us the time tonight to be able to speak so openly about something that is uncomfortable, man. Ryan, look, I don't mean to cut you off. I just have to say this out loud. We don't enjoy this. We were going to make a movie, a documentary about all our experience on the border and about how our government is destroying America through the open borders. We didn't come out and say, hey, Ryan, you know what I really want to do, man? I want to go and I want to film people tell us about having sex with kids, like 3-year-olds. And I want them to describe it to me. So it's seared into my brain for eternity. And I want to fly home from these and go back to my family and have to somehow wall this shit out of my head. So get involved, man. I don't care. You don't have to do a documentary. You don't have to do podcasts, but you sure in hell can talk about it. You can sure in hell go to the city council and ask the chief of police, how many people do you have on your sex crimes unit? 5? Okay, no. Mayor, you're going to increase that, or I'm going to physically get someone that's going to challenge you, and I'm going to pour all of my time and energy into that person to get you removed.
Let me jump right in there, JJ, because this is you just opened the door for exactly what I wanted to talk about. You know, I've been a cop since January of 2019, and my hope in my heart is that things have changed, but chances are they haven't. And I just want the audience to understand your local law enforcement, unless it's an agency that's right on the border, they're not going to have the knowledge that JJ and Border Patrol has when it comes to human trafficking. They're not. I want everybody to know I'm in Southern California. It's about 2.5 hours to the Tijuana border and about 1 hour and 45 minutes to the Calexico border. And you know it exists, but you don't even talk about child trafficking. You're just like, oh yeah, there's human trafficking, but the knowledge base is not there for law enforcement. So my call to action is to add on to what JJ just said right now. Research who your local police chief is, research who your local county sheriff is, and I want you guys all to send this email in a very professional and respectful way. And there's a little bit of work, but if we're talking about kids, you shouldn't be lazy. Go to the website for that agency, whether it be a municipality or the sheriff's department, and look at all the special details they have: motor division, gang division, SWAT team, abatement, code enforcement, all these different things. And chances are you're not going to see a human trafficking division. Maybe if it's a very, very large sheriff's department, but outside of that, you're probably not. And then you're going to send an email and put the website for Ryan and JJ's documentary. You send them this podcast and ask them, I see that you have all this. What are we doing to protect our kids and rescue the kids in our city and our county when it comes to human trafficking? Are you aware of this that's going on? And let them know. I'm expecting a response within 10 business days, or then I'm going to go to the media and said that I send this out to you and you don't want to respond. You put the pressure on them to let them know that this is this and not an email that's going to go away, and make them answer. And if they don't answer, then this is exactly 100% what you do, what JJ just said. You let the city mayor know, the city manager know, and whoever's in charge of that local law enforcement, that you are going to publicly bring awareness that they'd rather talk about graffiti and who's not mowing their lawn and this light, but there's no concern for the children in an epidemic that hit this country. Like this is something you can have a tangible effect on. And if you're a dad that's on a football team, you talk to the other dads and you say, hey, let's all do this. So this way the chief wakes up with 20 emails or 30 emails on Monday, realizing, okay, we called it an APE in law enforcement, and it stands for, APE, a political emergency. When enough people would send a chief or a sheriff something about this area is always getting graffiti and it's always getting speeders, just the real minimal things, not the crimes of the century. They saw it as a political emergency and they would immediately divert resources to that. Why? Because they feared it going to the media every single time. Mm-hmm. Imagine if we got together as the citizens in our local communities and did that same thing in mass, 30, 40, 50 emails, 100 emails, 1,000 emails saying, we demand that you take, and if they say, well, we don't have money, okay, then I don't care about abatement, I don't care about enforcement, I don't care about this. This is where we want the money. Like, put the political pressure on these guys. And if they're not willing to do it, then let them know that you're going to look for a sheriff or a chief or a city manager or a city council that'll do it. Like, these are, if you guys are asking, well, what do we do? This is something you can do, and you can do this tomorrow. Like you can start doing this tomorrow and send that off. Go ahead, Ryan. It looks like
No,
you have
I got a question for you. You're in law enforcement. So can you explain to your audience how we have been outside of these facilities saying that there's kidnapped children inside these facilities? If I'm making an accusation that there are kidnapped children in a building behind me and I'm screaming that at the top of my lungs, why, if that claim is being made, why is there not a SWAT team kicking in that door to verify? It almost reminds me of swatting, right? If you say that there's somebody trying to kill somebody, they're going to kick in your gosh damn door. So when we're outside, not right now, but I'm saying we've been outside these facilities screaming. I can share a clip with your audience. Maybe we'll play it in the Twitter space because you just need to listen to me screaming out there that there's kidnapped and trafficked children in these facilities. Why is local law enforcement not going into these and not doing anything about it? Is there no law? Fill us in.
There's most definitely a law, and this is my speculation because I'm not present for this, but my speculation is these institutions where like these camps or these temporary housing things have been set up, that there's already been some back, behind the curtain meetings from these NGOs and these government officials that are saying, hey, this is what this is for. This is what's going to be brought in. This is what alternative media is saying, but these are not going on. Government's involved. All the bullshit, right? We're monitoring them. This is where it's going. These are the policies. Here's our policy manual. And so law enforcement looks at it and be like, okay, well, there's justification to what's going on here. Yeah. Now, I'm pretty positive that's kind of the way that's looking. Now, that said, every cop is a mandated reporter. So if somebody can say, hey, there's a child that's in there, and this is where people, you have to be also very careful, because they'll always turn the whip on you real quick to say, oh, filing a false police report, we're going to arrest you for a felony. But if you can articulate and substantiate that, hey, we have, at least reasonable evidence that in there that there's this child that looks like this, is dressed like this, maybe goes by this name, has these earrings or this glasses or these shoes on. So this way they know, okay, you're actually talking about a kid that we can find that's in there.
That's right.
That is making the allegation of some type of sexual abuse. They have to investigate that. If they don't investigate that, they've just committed a felony. So even if it's a minimum of them going and questioning somebody, it has to at least generate a report. It still has to be forwarded to the local CPS, which is a whole nother matter. I'm not saying those guys are good. I'm just saying the policy, the way this goes, but that has to happen. So if these whistleblowers can, and this has to be something it's recent, has to be fast, because obviously they know that as soon as they get wind of this, they're going to do just the way they compartmentalize, like what the escorts were doing. They're going to stop giving them information so they can't facilitate this kind of stuff. But if we can get the whistleblowers to say, hey, this kid just called me from this last, even if they don't know the current location, that this is one of the good things to this. If a whistleblower says, hey, this kid just called and made this accusation, and this is the last known position I have of that kid, then local law enforcement has to get involved. And here's the thing, that you can weaponize the good policies for that. It does. Once you make that report, jurisdiction does not matter. Any cop that takes that initial report has to start an investigation, even if it's outside their jurisdiction. Now, once they start the initial, then they have to turn that investigation over to the agency of jurisdiction once they determine it. But in that case, you still have two different agencies that have to do an investigation, if there's a difference of jurisdiction. But at least it's put it into paper, which at least generates stats. It's not going to be the immediate result we want, but the thing is, if this happens in mass, that's going to land on a radar somewhere. But it's real. That's something that the whistleblowers would kind of have to facilitate, because it'd have to be something that's like actionable information right there on the spot. Gotcha. Because the second it's, a couple days old, now you start getting into, okay, well, this is a past crime. The urgency is not there the way it should be. And I know that sounds horrible to the audience with what we're talking about. I'm just saying, realistically, this is the way it looks. And the reason being is because our agencies, unless it's a large metropolitan area like an LAPD or NYPD, your agents, if you have an agency and it's 300 or 400 cops or less, they do not have a division that's devoted to human trafficking, which means the knowledge base is going to be little to none. So you're already fighting an uphill battle with that.
You know, it's crazy as I was talking to my doctor and Baz said the same thing. A doctor, a psychologist can cure an arsonist. Somebody that goes and burns down buildings and gets off on it, that person can be cured. Somebody that murders somebody, that person can be rehabilitated and reintroduced into society and never murder again. A pedophile cannot. A pedophile is the only person who is always going to consistently commit the same crime over and over and over again. These people are possessed by an evil that we don't understand. And I think a lot of people in the chat are they're saying, I just can't imagine anybody doing that to a child. And I think that's how they get away with this, right? It's out of sight, out of mind. You go and you're a law enforcement officer and you bust a kilo of fentanyl coming across the border and a bunch of pills and a bunch of guns. You're getting at a boy, you're getting a photo op, you're getting, everybody's, giving you the good thumbs up. You're the hero. You saved 4 children that had been chained into a closet for months and had cigarette butts put out on them every single night before they went to bed. Those children, when they get rescued, there's no that a boy, there's no photo op, right? So a lot of people in America can't visualize what is actually being done to these children because they can never picture themselves doing it. And that's how this is the silent crime. This is how these people operate in the shadows. And that's why we wanted to make this documentary the way that we made it, because we wanted this to be that kill shot to the pedophiles. We wanted to send a harpoon through this $1 trillion pedophile network that controls the entire world. And at the very least, wake people up to understand that it's happening. And once you start to understand that it's happening and you can wrap your mind around people are that evil, number one, you want to protect your own children a little bit more. So at the very least, it's going to make you be a little bit better of a parent, in my opinion. But you're also going to start to see the signs when you go into airports and you see a white man that's 49, walking around with 3 children that are 3 different races. What is that man doing? Why do they have manila envelopes? Why are migrants being escorted around TSA? When these aren't in like Detroit or central airports, these are airports that are 3 miles, 5 miles from the border. And you're seeing migrants that are coming across our border. They're not being Border Patrol doesn't even pick up their bags, Alpha. So we know they're not going through them. The migrants set them outside the bus and the Border Patrol agents step back like, bro, get off that bus. They grab them by the back of their shirt, pull them off the bus, and they point to their bag. Go pick that up and put it under the bus. And they go throw it under the bus. And then they go drive them over to an airport. They get their bag off the bus and they're walked into the same airport that American citizens are getting on those flights. And they're being escorted right around the TSA checkpoints, no pat downs, no IDs, no documentation. And that person whose bag may or may not be carrying drugs, guns, weapons, bombs, anything, has just got on the same flight with you. That is what we're talking about here. So I just want your audience to understand how just evil our government has become and how tyrannical. And if we don't stand up here, you can't blame God for the way that we mock him and the way that we humiliate him. We dedicated an entire month to anal sex. That is if that's not the biggest slap into God's face, on top of mocking him every single day for months on end, we've allowed 500,000 of his children to be trafficked into America and sold by our own government to the highest bidding pedophile or any human trafficker who is willing to take them just to make the child disappear. There is the story I was telling you about Andy Reception Hall. These are where the HHS whistleblowers are vetting children to go to sponsors. At one location, picture a really bad rundown neighborhood, maybe a hood by you, some area that is just absolutely run down, and picture the local bowling alley in that area. Boarded up windows, if it even has windows, boarded up, parking lots, trash, just a facility that you probably don't even want to go bowling at. You probably won't even get out of your car to pump gas in these type of neighborhoods. At this reception hall that looks like an abandoned bowling alley, it has like a tunnel, right? Like you would walk out of the door and it'd have like a gazebo thing that connects to some type of house or building. That house that's connected to this reception hall, behind it, there is what are those shipping containers, one after another, like 20 shipping containers. Looks like maybe it was a storage units at one point. Those shipping containers and the apartment complexes behind it that hold, maybe there's 200 people that live actually units in that apartment complex. When the whistleblower first started to realize that children were being taken to this location, she blew the whistle and was like, she uncovered that there was 139 children that were delivered to this one house and this apartment complex behind the house in these shipping containers. She blew the whistle, and then when she blew the whistle, they came in and they gave her like the old Vata girl. Oh my gosh, how did you uncover this? She's like, oh, I queried this database, and I realized that these databases are separate. So this sponsor was getting children in this database, and then he was getting in this one, and then this one, and they weren't registered in the same database. So our agencies were just delivering child after child after child, basically to the same place. So then after They gave her the data boy. They brought her in the next morning. How'd you do that? She explained it all. The next day she comes in, they stripped all of her powers to actually investigate that. So the people that are supposed to be investigating these things had their powers taken away from them. Well, then after throwing enough fists and throwing a big enough fuss, they ended up giving them back like parses of them. Like Deb could have access to this one. This lady could have access to this one. And they weren't supposed to use them together. Well, Deb ended up getting a second look at it from one of her friends that had access. The number had jumped up to like 329. So she took that to Congress and blew the whistle again. And today she said, after knowing this, right, Alpha, after knowing this, we're stripping those powers away. Today, that number is over 500. They have no intention of stopping this even after we blow the whistle.
No, there's a conspiracy to conceal it right there. Those are crimes. That is facilitating the crimes against these kids. I mean, that's just absolute insanity, man. That blows my mind. To what you were saying, Ryan, that people can't fathom this because we're not like that. There's a name I want everybody to go look up. Go to the Devil's YouTube later. It's Peter Scully, Scully. He was an Australian convicted of murder and raping children. And you'll hear from his words the way these people are. So when you hear us saying that these people can't be saved, you're going to realize why. You're going to realize that there is a soul that is absent in these people. And like I said, it's creepy. Some of the interviews you'll hear involving this man and how he like kind of just chuckles and smirks. It's evil the way JJ and Ryan have pretty much described it all night. As we wrap this up, gentlemen, we have a little over 2,000 people watching on X, a little over 1,200 that are watching right now on Rumble. What is one message you want to make sure that everybody walks away with right now? Like the audience, their ears are listening. What is something right now, tonight, that everybody can go and do?
I'll let JJ tell you what you guys can go do, but the one message I want to really drive home here, this is not a Democrat problem. When Republicans took control of the House, whistleblowers had blown the whistle on the fact that 85,000 children were missing. Since Speaker McCarthy took that gavel, that number has increased to 325,000. The last funding bill that Speaker Johnson knowingly knew that money was going to be delivered to these NGOs that were delivering those children to those 4 locations that had known pedophiles or known sex offenders living there, continued to give them, it was either 15.9 or 7.9 billion to these NGOs. We got this documentary out in 25 days because there's another vote coming. Every single person watching this, when they start talking about this vote, should be talking about the NGOs that are funding the child trafficking. And if DHS is cutting, what is that, the S&P program that they're cutting out, that they just awarded another 340 million and another 300 million to 2 different programs that award money to sanctuary cities that are accepting illegal immigrants. So this is all funded because Republicans have allowed it to be funded. So I just want that to be my message going out to everybody. It's not left first right here. So anybody that tries to make this political, it's not. It's corruption. That's the problem. Go ahead, JJ.
I just want your audience to understand that because our government decided to use and weaponize illegal immigration to fundamentally transform America, they've allowed this to happen. Our federal government is the world's largest child sex trafficking organization in modern history. Our government is the enemy of the people, and our government is trying to fundamentally transform America by a complete and utter demographic shift. Right now, as you and I speak, there are 50 million illegal aliens inside America. It's not disputed. They kind of parse it down to 45 million, but let's say it's 50 because I know it's even higher than that. 50 million. That means 1 in 6.5 to 1 in 7 residents inside our broken borders and our non-existent walls is an illegal alien. Think about that. 1 in 6.5 to 1 in 7. This is a population changeover from citizens to non-citizens. Your country is being sold out right under your feet, and you don't even know it's happening. You have no idea. The Haitians eating dogs and cats in Springfield, Ohio, that's real. That's real. The Venezuelans taking over apartments and neighborhoods, and now we have confirmed 5 states, 5 different states. That's real, no matter what the media tries to tell you. It's all real. It's all happening right now. And you don't even know what is happening. Then it's going to be too late.
One, my hat's off to you, gentlemen. I remember there was the older guys that typically took on the child crimes cases. And one, law enforcement needs to be re-educated, man. And JJ, hopefully that's something that you still have enough networking connections to push that, so we can make sure this never happens again once we handle the problem that we're already dealing with. Because cops get into this and I want to do SWAT, I want to do gangs, I want to do narcs, the sexy units, right?
Mm.
And I think if cops were aware of, there's not one cop that I ever worked with that if they just watch the documentary that I watched today, that when they suit up tomorrow, they're not going to be like, Chief, we need this unit and I want to be on it. Like, that's how powerful this documentary is. The thing is, we got to get these guys to see it. We got to get these guys to see it. And you, the audience, you can pressure. You have the political pressure to make these sheriffs and chiefs watch this video and tell the sheriff and the chief, you watch it and see if this is not something you want your men to see. Go ahead, Ryan.
No, I was going to say, you can send me over on X at Ryan Matamedia, any sheriff's email address. I will send them a free copy so they don't even have to buy it. So there's no reason that they can't watch this. And then number two, I just want to say, me and JJ would never kill ourselves. We're not suicidal. True story.
Add me to that list.
Yeah.
As rough as life is, I'm still happy with living. I'm gonna play a quick clip from Mayorkas. It's a little old. I just want people to see it, and then when we come back from that, I'll get your guys' thoughts on it. We'll get through these Rumble rants, and then I'll give you guys a little bit of a break. You guys on X Spaces, if you guys go and follow Maze Love 14, she's going to be doing a Q&A section, so you guys can ask these gentlemen some questions. There's some other whistleblowers that might show up. Going to be limited time. These guys have been at it all. But like I said, that'll be at 8:45 Pacific, which if I do my Marine Corps math right, I think that's like 11:45 Eastern. So let's play this quick clip, and then we'll come back with some Rumble rants.
How much revenue have the cartels received during your tenure?
Congressman, I don't have that data.
Do you have any? You have no estimate about that whatsoever. That you bear in your mind what revenues Mexican drug cartels have received during your tenure as secretary?
Congressman, the cartels are very profitable. They were very profitable 3 years ago, and they were very profitable 6 years ago.
Are they making more or less revenue under your tenure now than under previous administration?
And I will tell you this, that we are unrelenting in our attack.
I understand your efforts, sir. What I'm talking about are your results. Are they making more or less revenue under your tenure than your predecessors?
We have arrested more criminals involved in cartel activity than in the prior.
Do you not know whether they're making more revenue, or are you simply evading my question?
Congressman, I believe I answered your question that I do not have that data.
He ain't answering it because he knows the answer. JJ, please go ahead.
Mayorkas is a traitor. He's a traitor. I wrote a whole chapter dedicated in my book, Invaded, to Mayorkas, because no one has any idea who he is. They think he fell out of the sky, and he's a very small man, physically small. He looks meek and he looks kind of mousy and why are you picking on me? He is a highly, highly successful man. I give him absolute credit. He is determined. He's calculated. He was the youngest U.S. attorney in the history of the United States of America under President Clinton, became the director of USCIS, a very powerful organization within DHS. Second term under Obama, became the deputy secretary of DHS, and now he's the secretary of DHS. Very powerful man. And when you go back in history, my history, that I was there, this is not third hand. I heard about or saw an email. I lived it as a Border Patrol agent, as a supervisor, and as a senior leader in the Border Patrol. Every single immigration policy that we are living through today that is illegal, unconstitutional, only one man created all of them and facilitated all of them. And his name is Alejandro Mayorkas. He created, I'll just go through them real quick, just a handful so you get an idea. Prosecutorial discretion, DACA, catch and release, bastardization asylum, parole, CBP One app, flying illegal aliens in the middle of the night and keeping them off the data, been FOIA'd on it. Now it's over 1 million. Catch and release. You're not allowed to release illegal aliens against the law. He created alternative to detention. And I can go on and on and on. There is only one man that created all of it, and his name is Alejandro Mayorkas. He is a traitor to America. And I know what treason, I know what the punishment is, and it is death. So I do not say that willy-nilly, but he needs to be arrested and be afforded a trial. And then once he's found guilty, he needs to be hanged. All of them do. And I think that's maybe another topic for another show, but I want justice. I'm so tired of living in America that has no justice. If you believe that we have a righteous and moral justice system in America, you are an absolute fool. You have no idea how the system works. U.S. attorneys and DAs pick and choose the cases they want, and they make no sense when you start to understand which ones they're taking and which ones they're declining. It makes no sense because it's all politically motivated. How can you have a justice system when it's all based on politics? You don't. It's a kangaroo court. That's what we live in. Some people say you have 2 tiers, 3 tiers. If you have more than 1 tier of justice, you have no justice. None. And this is why you see pedophilia, why you see burning down federal buildings, why you see crime skyrocketing, murders, rapes, assaults, child pedophilia, child rape, kidnapping, degradation we can never seen in America because we live in a lawless society. That's it. And then it comes all the way back full circle. Where are the men? Where are all the men?
I agree. Gents, I'm going to do these Rumble rants, and then after that, we'll call it a night. I hope everybody makes their way over to X Spaces for the Q&A. I'll start with the oldest ones and then get to the most recent ones. $100 Rumble rant from STS Spears. People need to wake up about what is happening to the children. It breaks my heart. So much evil out there. Thanks, Alpha, for covering this. God help us. Another 100 one from S Hole. Thank you for hosting this show. Much love sent. Thank you both for that. $10 ones from Agate. I know a measly 10 is nothing, but I must do something. Every dollar counts because it's something you guys work for, and it's all appreciated. I understand that. That's, all of us are grateful for it. Another $10 Rumble rant from Rex57. I am in. $50 Rumble rant from Atlantis Joe. God is not mocked. Payback's gonna be a bitch. 100%. Love that. $20 Rumble rant from 2F17. Thank you, gentlemen, for all this information. And then the last two, $5 Rumble rant from 172287. Go support JJ and Matt. Tell your friends and family. Watch hashtag This is Treason. Hashtag One Team. Hashtag Save America. I think he doesn't mind being called Matt since he threw some money his way. But we're talking. They probably meant Matta. They just probably forgot the A is probably what went down there. And last one, $20 Rumble rant from I'm grateful. Buy your neighbor a ticket to this documentary. I think that's a phenomenal idea right there. You guys, these men did their part. Now it's on you guys. Are you just going to walk away from this show pissed off and emotional? Or are you going to do something with the information that's been put in front of you? Especially the men. JJ called us all out. Do your part. Have these conversations. JJ, Ryan, I will see you guys in a little bit. Seriously, God bless you guys for the work you're doing. I know you guys are putting your necks out there and your names, and I hope your families understand that they're appreciated as well, because I know this is a very time-consuming project that you guys have carried on. So I'll see you guys in a little bit.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You guys, listen, website is down in the description. You don't even got to type it. All you got to do is go down there and click it. We spend so much money on so many other things for luxury coffee, going out to eat. You know what? Sacrifice the night of going out to eat, sacrifice pizza, sacrifice whatever the case may be. This is a small task to go and push this and buy it and buy it. Like the person said, buy this for your neighbors. Like Ryan said, get the emails for your police chiefs and your sheriffs. Like seriously, you guys, we have to be done with not doing anything. And tonight, you've been provided information. You've been provided websites and links, a call to action, a petition. There's things you can do tonight. And tomorrow, when I talk to these gentlemen, I'm going to hear one of two things. Hey, man, the audience showed up. Or, hey, man, people just don't care. You decide what that conversation is going to look like. And I hope you guys are the warriors that I believe in my heart that you guys are. So with that, you guys, I didn't run commercial ads or sponsors. They're down in the links as well. Support the people that support this show. Got a little song or video that I'm going to play with some music. And then after that, I will see you guys in the next spaces. God bless. Semper Fi. This is Alpha, first in and last out.
Daylight, don't come shining again, 'cause all your rays display these days are pain and sorrows. Promises, keep your promises, yes. 'Cause I see no change, initiate for a better tomorrow. Sometimes I wish that I was blind, wish I could have numbed the pain inside. Then maybe my heart wouldn't be aching so much. He's a baby, he's a child. She's an infant, just a child. How could you burn the bridge of the future? Oh, save the children, save the children, the future to the sun. Save the children, save the future. Teach them truth, teach them rights. Show them love, treat them kind. Guide them to be fearless on their journey of life. Teach them pride, show them care. Let them know important it is to share. And they can make it anywhere. The keys to persevere. Oh, save the children, save the children, the future to deserve. Oh, save the children, save the future.
Another statistic of rampant child abuse.
I think I just saw this man and contact me no more. I hit him.
The children ranging from
I was raised at the age of 9 by my stepfather.
Mother, the first voice to be heard, the first teacher from whom they would learn. The duty is to protect them, yeah. Father, the first voice to be heard, first teacher from whom they would learn. You're his hero, she's daddy's little girl.